Hey guys, AlexAutomotive here, and today we're going to do a water pump on a 2008 Silverado with a 4.3 V6. So what you want to do first is, I already did take off the belt, but what you can do first is you want to grab the tensioner right here with its 3/8, just ratchet it. You want to tension it away to get the belt off, which I already took the belt off, but I'll show you how to put it back on. And then to give yourself a little bit more room, I took the air intake off, air intake off. And you just unscrew this hose clamp right there. And you got one that's right on top of the throttle body, which is right about there. And that will come off. So I'm gonna take that off. And then what you wanna do is you wanna grab just a 13 wrench, hold one in as you loosen the other. So you wanna loosen all 4 of these bolts to take them out. I already did loosen them, and I got them mostly all the way off. So I'm gonna take this off, and then I'm gonna take this pulley off, and I'll show you how to get to the water pump. So, just give me a little bit, and stay tuned. On the air box, you want to completely remove these 4 bolts that are sitting here on the pulley. And then what I did after I removed those bolts, which I set those up there all the way so that I wouldn't knock them down, I grabbed a flat blade screwdriver, and I gently pried between the pulley and the water pump, and I got it off. So then what I did was I pulled out my new water pump, which is right here. I saw that there's 2 coolant hose connections up top, 1 at the bottom, and there's 4 bolts holding it together. So 2 on this side, 2 on this side. So when you also get your new water pump, you want to make sure it comes with new gaskets too, because the gaskets will go on the other side of this water pump and mount it to the engine block. I mean, you can try to reuse the old ones, but it's highly recommended to get new ones so it has a fresh new gasketing surface to when you take it off. So when you go take it off, you got the 2 bolts down over here on this side, 2 bolts on this side. You got the coolant hose clamp, that's right there on that one for the one that goes on the bottom. You got another coolant hose here, and you got another one right behind the idler pulley. So I'm gonna remove these 3 coolant hoses. I'm gonna hopefully get all the coolant. I got a drip pan down there, if you can see it. Try to get as much as I can in that drip pan so I don't get a lot of it on my floor. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll show you how to remove it from the car. Okay, so now that I got the pulley taken off, I'm gonna show you how to remove the coolant hoses. I'm gonna try it the best I can. So first I'm going to start with the one up top. So I'm going to have my light shine right about here. And I just got a pair of rib joint pliers I'm going to try to use. So you can either go with the one that's down here, right connected to the water pump, or get the one that's right here. I'm going to try to get this one just because this one is pressed against the block and I can't really get my pliers to it or on it. So I'm just going to go with this one that's right here. I'm going to squeeze both sides. And we'll walk it back and forth. And I should be able to get it off enough to pull this off the pipe. And you should have some coolant come out of it, depending on how much coolant actually leaked out of the weep hole. Which that's why I'm replacing this one, because coolant did leak out of the weep hole. So I knew it was time to replace it. So get our screwdriver, we're gonna go between the pipe and the hose. Kind of just walk it in there. This hose has been on here for a while. It's going to be kind of tight to get it off. As you can see, there is some coolant trying to come out. Once I actually get this hose off, we'll be able to get it out. And I'm grabbing a pair of pliers to see if I could walk it out a little bit better. It's almost out. I almost got it off. There we go. That's why you want to put that drip pan down there, so all the coolant will hopefully go in it and not all over your ground. I did get a little bit of coolant on the ground, but just use a little bit of kitty litter or floor dry, and you can clean that right up. So now you want to do the other one that is underneath the idler pulley. It's the same thing. Grab the pliers, you want to try to get it on the clip as best you can. Put the flashlight right there. You try to get it off. Put these so close to the actual water pump itself that it's actually kind of hard to get off. There we go. Come on. Come on, little guy. So I'm going to grab a screwdriver and try to get it out of the way. And yeah, before you actually start taking these off, you want to make sure that the engine hasn't been running for about 2 to 3 hours, just so you're not burning your hand or burning something when you take that coolant hose off. Because as you could tell, that it just started squirting coolant everywhere. If you got that hot coolant, it can start burning stuff or start getting the wirings and that. You really don't want that to happen. I got this one off, got that one out. Now hopefully this one comes off a little bit easier than the other one. Okay, so now I got the top 2 hoses off. I took that one off right there, that one down there. I do still gotta take the big hose off. So I'm gonna grab my channel locks and do the same thing I did the top 2. Then I'm gonna remove the 4 bolts that hold the water pump on, and it should come right off. So, I start with taking the last hose off and get my light set up. It is really helpful to have 2 people, 1 person hold the light, but I don't have that today. So I'm gonna take the last one off, get a nice place for that to sit, and we should be good to take the water pump off. Okay, so lock that down. I got that walk down. Grab my screwdriver and just slowly start taking this hose off. So this one you do have room to actually kind of squeeze it to work its way down. There we go. So now that we got that hose off, you see it's gonna drip, and that's why you want a drip pan. Let's see if we can angle it down a little bit more. Yeah, so we took the hose off, like right around there, and all that coolant that was in the block is now coming through the water pump and dripping on the floor. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit, clean my hands up a little bit, and then I'll show you how to take the water pump off. Okay, so now that I got all the hoses off, all the coolant did go, well, most of it went on the floor, but I tried to get it all in the drip pan. So now you got 4 bolts holding it on, and you want a 15mm socket. I'm using a 6-inch extension with a ratchet. You got a bolt that's right here, a bolt that's underneath here, you got one that's up in here, and then you got one right beside the tensioner. So what you want to do is you take your ratchet, break them all loose, and then go through and then take them all off. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go through and take all these off. So you can use hand tools or you can use power tools. Like one of those ratchets from Milwaukee that they sell at Home Depot. Those are really nice to use. I don't have mine with me today, so it would speed up the process, but I'm going to take these off. You guys can stay tuned. I mean, that's what the bolts look like. They're not too long. Just make sure you keep them in order where they go so you can put them back into place. What I like to do, since this was a top left bolt, I like to bring it over here and put it on the top left of that box so I can keep the bolts pretty much where they go. I mean, depending on if they're different sizes or not, it doesn't really matter where they go, but I like to put my bolts kind of where I take them out. Yep, so here's another one. It's about the same size. I'm still gonna put this one on bottom left, or bottom right. And a little bit more coolant will come out as you're taking the water pump off, just because it is separating from the block, and there's still gonna be a little bit of coolant still actually in here. So what you wanna also do is leave one bolt that's easy to take off, just so you're not holding up the weight of the actual water pump, itself as you take the last bolt off. So I'm gonna take this top right bolt off just because it is a little bit harder to get to and I can't really see it that well. So I'm gonna take that off real quick. Okay, top right. Or top left. My bad. And slowly take this bottom one off. So all 4 bolts were the same size, so it doesn't really matter where they go, but I like to keep them where they're at. Now with a screwdriver. So then what you do is kind of have to wiggle it off a little bit, and then it'll come off, just like that. And there's a little bit of coolant left in it. I'm gonna get that to drain onto my drip pan. But yeah, that's how you take off the water pump in this truck. And then you wanna make sure that you get all this gasket material that's off the block, just so when you put the new gasket on, you will not kind of triple or double gasket. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna clean this up real quick, and I will be right back. Okay, so now that you got the new water pump out, you always want to compare it to the old one just to make sure it's the same. But then what you can do is to make sure the gasket lines up, you put one bolt in, you put the gasket on top of that, then you put the other bolt in, you slide it all the way through. And then you can get the gasket on like that, and you can always make sure it lines up. So you can do that with both sides. Put my foot in there. You just gotta make sure that the gasket stays on there. So you can do that. You slide the bolt in and put the gasket on. So once I get this, I'll get this started in the car, and I'll show you how to finish tightening it down. So just stay tuned, and I will get this in the car and screwed on, just so I can have both hands on the water pump so the bolts don't fall out just like that. So stay tuned, I'll get this in the car, and then I'll show you how to tighten it down. Alright, so now that I got the new water pump on, I gotta make sure I install all the hoses and where they go. So I did take the old hose off, the old little hose I had that I left on, I took it off. So I can pop it down on this one right here. You wanna grab these pliers and kind of do the opposite of what you did to take them off. So you just want to walk it down and get them all the way down. Okay. So make sure you get it past the lip on the hose. Make sure it's not hanging off. Okay, and then slide this one down a little bit. Get it to be able to go on. So I'm going to install all 3 hoses. I'm just going to show you how to do it. But yeah, that's how you do it. You kind of just like press these again and do the backwards of how you put them on. So you want to take this and slide it over on this one. There we go. Make sure it goes all the way on, so you don't have to worry about it popping off on you. You grab these, And then make sure you put it in a place to where if you have to, you can easily take it off again. So I like to put mine to where I can get pliers on it if I have to, so I don't have to struggle to put it on or take it off the next time. Or what you could do too is replace these with the actual hose clamps. You can pick those up pretty cheap from the hardware store. That's what I should have done, but I just forgot. I just wanted to get the job done. So you put all 3 of those back on. Now I'll show you how to put the pulley on with the belt and then fill it up with coolant. So just stay tuned for that and I'll get this all back together. Okay, so now that I got the new water pump installed, I want to take off this little cowl that came with the new one. And then I want to install the pulley. So I got the pulley right here. I'm going to take 1 bolt, stick it in here, and I want to get this lined up and screw in just 1 bolt for now. And just do this one at a time. Make sure that this pulley is sitting properly up to where each bolt can line up nicely onto it, just so then the belt could ride on it. You can even check the idler pulley and make sure it lines up mostly really close to where it was originally, just so you know that it's all going to go on back together nicely before you tighten everything down. So I just hold it to get each bolt in. Each bolt goes in pretty nicely. Every once in a while, this last bolt can be a pain, but I got it all in. So then you just want to finger tighten it to just about where it's touching. And you can start tightening all these down. So then once you get all 4 of these down, you can grab a wrench and hold one and tighten up one. And then you just kind of switch over each one to get all 4 tight. And I will show you that in a minute. Okay, so what I mean by that, you can grab this, make sure your ratchet is going the same way, and you kind of just gotta hold it down, and you can put the wrench on this one, and move on to the next one. Gonna lock it down, and just do that slowly, just so this pulley isn't spinning on you. It stays about where it needs to go. And you can make sure you torque it down. You can torque it down the same way. Just make sure each and every one of these gets torqued down properly. But what you can do next is put the belt on. So every once in a while, there's a sticker of the pattern to where you put the belt on. If you can't find that sticker or your car doesn't come with one, you can always Google it or make sure you take a picture of it before you take the actual belt off. So what I'm gonna do, put the belt on. I do gotta look back at my pictures to make sure. So this is not actually how it comes off or goes on, or it might be. So I gotta look back at my pictures just to verify it to make sure. It looks just about right. It goes underneath there. But I'll look back at my pictures, I'll check it, and I'll show you the final project just in case you forgot to take a picture. So just stay tuned. Alright, so now that I got the belt on, what you could do, just to pull back the tensioner, is you get a 3/8 ratchet. I put mine on an extension. Then you grab your hand, you can pull up on it, and you'll move that tensioner. So that's how you get the belt to sit on. And I Googled mine, or had a picture of it, and you gotta see how it's lined up. And then you'll know it's right when the belt is nice and tight, and there's really no play in it. So you wanna make sure you get that done properly, and then you can go back and verify that these 4 bolts right here on the water pump are tight. You wanna make sure you do that so you're not losing this as you're driving down the road here in like a week or a month or however long it takes, and then you're stranded. So you wanna make sure those are tight, the belt is ran properly, and then we can put our air box back on, fill it up with coolant, and then start the car. So I got everything back together. I made sure it was tight. I tightened up both hose clamps on this air tube, made sure my water pump was tight and my pulley was tight. Made sure the belt was ran properly. Got everything else on. Everything looks like it's good. So now I got my coolant reservoir. Now I'm gonna fill up with coolant. And then when you go to the auto parts store, they're gonna give you an option between two. They got one right here that doesn't say 50/50, so this is straight coolant. And mostly all manufacturers require 50/50 coolant, so you can get this one, or you can get one that is already pre-mixed. So this one's ready to go, dumped in the car. So I'm gonna dump this one in the coolant reservoir, and then I'm gonna mix this one with half water and half this. And I'm gonna use this bottle to mix it all up. So if you ever do get one of each, you just add water. See, this one says do not add water, ready to use. This one does not. So we're gonna use this one first. We're gonna dump it all in the reservoir, and then we're gonna we'll start the car up, watch the temperature gauge, and then watch that. Because your coolant reservoir will go down as it pumps the coolant back into the motor. Because you lost a lot of coolant. Mine mostly made in the drip pan, but some of it kind of went all over the place. So we just gotta watch it, make sure it's not dripping, and go from there. So I'm gonna dump this in, start the car, and let you guys know how it's going. All right, so now I got the coolant reservoir. I got it filled up to stop about right there. Because it took about 2 gallons of coolant, and I used the 150/50 mix at first, and then I mixed the one that was just full on coolant, so there's no water added. And then I used that container and I filled it up, and it took about 2 gallons worth of coolant. So once I filled it up, I started the car. I'm just checking that pulley, make sure there's no awkward wobble to it. Just checking to make sure nothing's leaking. Everything seems like it's okay. That's going down just a little bit, so as it goes down, you just want to fill it up. But then you also want to get inside the truck and just check on your temperature gauge with your heat all the way up. I mean, my heat's up right now, and you just want to feel to make sure the heat stays just up, but gets warm. You want to check your temperature gauge, make sure it's not doing anything crazy. Because if it's doing something crazy or goes above that 210, you want to shut it off, and you just want to double check it, make sure you didn't get a faulty water pump, make sure your coolant's still going. I mean, my heat's getting warm, so I know it still has to bleed a little bit. So you just want to go outside, you just want to make sure that's running, you want to check on your coolant level in the reservoir. You do not want to walk away from the vehicle. If you walk away, there may be an overheating problem that you won't be able to see, and then you burn up a motor. So just stay by your car, check your coolant, make sure it stays at a good, safe level. You want to make sure there's no leaks coming from the engine compartment, no leaks coming from any of the hoses you just put on. And you also want to just make sure you keep an eye on this temperature gauge. Mine's doing pretty good. My heat's getting up there, so it's feeling nice and warm. So, with all that being done, with it all warming up, just keep an eye on everything. But that's how you install a water pump on a 2008 Chevy Silverado. And the only thing I used was a rib joint pliers, a 15 millimeter, and a 13 millimeter with a 6-inch extension interaction. So if you have those little tools, I'll leave a link in the description of the stuff I use down in the description below. And if you could, just leave a like and thumbs up this video and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers, so if I can do that, that would be very amazing. So if you like the video, you can check out my other videos on other various cars that I have. So I hope you like it all, and I hope you learned a lot on this video. So again, please hit the like and subscribe. Thank you.